Hello. Today we're going to discuss the basics of searching and information retrieval. The very basics of being able to find information lies in something called keywords. So let's back it up a little bit. What is searching? Searching is an exploratory process. When we search for information, we input search terms, also known as keywords, into search boxes in order to retrieve results. Now, when we search for information, we should, in theory, have an idea or a sense of the type of information that we might need. So that is going to be sort of the genesis of how do you start to build keywords. So from the top, here are 4 areas in which we see that we might go and look at in order to express a keyword. So if you're having difficulty thinking about, well, I don't even know what I'm looking for, you need to stop and back up a little bit. So the first question I would pose to you is, what is the question that you're trying to answer? If your question is kind of vague or you're still not sure, you should start by actually writing out just like a quick list of what do you know already. And so when you think about like that information that you already have, here are basically 4 kind of categories that can help you get started with thinking about some words that might be associated to each. So very broadly speaking, what is your topic? Topic or issue, right? So if you're doing something along like political advocacy, maybe you're doing something about like a local issue like food scarcity, or maybe you are investigating something like gun control law. It doesn't really matter what issue or topic you're doing, so much as you just have understanding, okay, this is my broad topic or issue. The other thing here is maybe you're doing something for a more specialized historical class or something more genealogical, for example. In which case, it might behoove you to think about, from a historical perspective, what is an event associated with the issue. So maybe the issue here is about like a historical event might be something like the Civil War, or more specifically, the Battle of Gettysburg under the Civil War. So we have an event and then a more specific or narrow event connected to a location. Something about like the background, something that delves into like maybe the background of the issue. So anything that's related to people, places, things, those are what we would kind of want to tease out in terms of our keywords. This is also something we should think about in terms of like region. I know a lot of us are like, well, I'm just looking for stuff on the United States. A better way to handle that would be like, maybe I'm looking for something about dialectics, for example, and I'm looking for something related to, maybe Southern dialectics versus Northern dialectics, or versus Eastern or Western. So getting maybe more regional. If I'm doing something with people, different groups have evolved with how they refer to themselves. That's a result of both like the changes of culture, but also the changes of like how they've been recognized from a legislative standpoint. So this is something you see a lot when you start thinking about like race, particularly in America. So you see this with, for example, American-born Black individuals. So depending on when you're looking for information, the terms that you might use to look for that population will be vastly different from what you might use to look for that population in the 21st century. This is also true about Latin people, Hispanic and or Latin individuals. And of course, then there's other ways to think about it, about like race and nationality or race and ethnicity. So just social demographics broadly. So I have a couple listed there. So these are all ways that you can go about generating keywords. Now moving right along, once you have your keywords, you have to have some operator logic, or we have to have an understanding of how databases run. So I have a couple of snippets here that explains the diagrams that. So let's say I'm doing the issue of, how are African American high schoolers being prepared for post high school careers? Maybe that's my broad question. So from that broad question, because I don't ever want to search with the whole question, that's just not going to give you the retrieve the information that you want. Instead, I want to take that question and I want to break it down. So that's kind of what I was trying to get at with the previous slide, as far as like how to generate keywords. So essentially, your keywords should be connected directly or come directly from your question. Now that I have those listed keywords, I need to understand like the 3 Boolean operators within the database. So I have them AND, which means I'm adding term A and term B. So I want information that contains both of those terms. I might use NOT if I see like, there's a lot of sub issues being connected with my primary issue. So in this case, academic placement might be brought up in conversation next to career readiness, but I don't really care about that piece of it. So I don't want that in my results. Likewise, if I'm trying to combine terms, so you'll see that I have a lot of terms. So going back to that sort of social demographic piece, I might be looking at, African American or Black to refer to a population. And I also want terms related to employability or job competitiveness as my issues. So I'm basically expanding and narrowing at the same time. And once you understand that logic about how you're inputting information, this is how it will look as you input it. So you see there I have the example. So if I'm looking for career readiness, and I'm going to start off with underrepresented. So maybe instead of just going with more racial demographics, I'm just going to start with the broad category of a class. The next thing I might do here, you'll see I have career readiness and not academic placement. Likewise, I have the whole listing out of my combined search phrases. So my group population with the alternative words and my key issue with its adjacent or alternative terms being searched there with African American or Black and employability or job completeness. That says completeness. Sorry, that should be competitiveness. Moving right along, just for the sake of time, another issue that I see people get is, well, do I have to do all of my searching in my database? And the answer is no. If you want to search online, you actually can, and that's totally fine. I just want to make sure that you understand the differences of what it is that you're searching in. So searching in Google in itself is not a database. What it is a search engine and or just a very broad web crawler. So this is why you have a glut of information that comes back when you search on there. And that's not a bad thing. I just want you to be aware of that. And it does kind of make searching for articles harder. So this one, you'll see here, I just put in career readiness. What I want you to be aware of, let's see how that interface looks. You see how it's kind of set up there. I start off with the definition of career readiness that they pulled for me. And then they just have, like, again, the focus here is on online sources. So some of the first things they're going to be pulling will be pulling from like institutional organizations. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. It just depends on like the parameters of my assignment. So you could start there. In the middle, this is actually Google Scholar. So I would have to go into Google Scholar and I would enter it just the same way I would as if I was searching through a database. I've made it with a little pink highlight there. So I have career readiness and African American high schoolers. And it might be a little hard to see in my example, but you can see here, I started to pull up, article PDFs, some HTML, but PDFs and articles related to my 2 keywords, which is what I want to see. Now, if I'm just looking for some more background information or like I have a little bit more time, I want to consider maybe looking at print books, so print hardback or online, i.e. ebooks. So you can look in Google Books for that as well. And you'll see here, I have the little highlighted in orange, and I want you to see, like, there's different types of information, but I'm under books. And you'll see there, like, what is retrieving are books that are fitting my bracket right there. So honestly, that's pretty much it. The only other thing here, let me see if I can get this pulled up. This is a quick example of what this looks like in the database. You'll see here, I'm just in a regular old database, and I just popped in, there you go, the keywords of career readiness and African American high schoolers, and I haven't done anything else to it yet, and I've got a couple of things popping up, and yeah, that's kind of it as far as just basic searching. Hope this is helpful.